Welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're tackling a classic, Your Money or Your Life, by Vicki, Robin, and Joe Dominguez.
Oh yeah, this one's a game changer for sure.
It's not your typical budget/save more kind of book. It really digs deeper. It's all about figuring out what you truly value and then, getting your money to work for those values.
It's like getting your money and your life on the same page.
Exactly.
No more fighting each other.
So get ready to uncover some seriously practical steps. We're talking gaining control of your finances, reducing stress.
And maybe even figuring out what financial independence could look like for you.
We'll be diving into some pretty intriguing concepts like the whole money is life energy thing and that fulfillment curve everyone's always talking about.
Yeah, those are big ones. Those are really at the core of the book's message.
So when I first read this book, what really struck me was how it reframes. You know how we think about wealth?
It's not just about the size of your bank account, right? It's about how much you're actually getting out of life.
It's about intention.
Exactly.
Speaking of intention, let's jump into this whole money as life energy thing. The book really hits you over the head with that one, doesn't it?
It does. And it's such a powerful concept when you really think about it.
So break it down for us.
Okay, so basically, every dollar you earn represents hours of your life that you traded to earn it. Like literally, think about it. How many hours did you work to buy that new phone, that fancy dinner?
Oh, that's a good point.
So when you spend that dollar, you're actually spending a piece of your life.
Wow. Yeah, that's like a punch in the gut realization sometimes.
It is, but it's a good punch, the kind that wakes you up.
Like, wait, that new gadget actually cost me a week of working overtime. Was it really worth it?
Exactly. That's the shift in perspective the book is trying to encourage.
It's not about deprivation. It's more about being aware of the trade-offs we're making.
Right. We buy so much stuff on autopilot.
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that.
But this concept, this money is life energy, it forces you to pause before you swipe that credit card and ask yourself, is this purchase really worth a chunk of my life?
And I think some people might hear that and be like, well, I enjoy my work.
Sure, maybe you do. But even if you love what you do, it still takes time and energy.
That's true.
And the book is really challenging you to think, what if you could spend that time and energy differently?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What could you do with more free time? Pursue a passion, spend more time with family and friends.
Travel the world.
Exactly. The possibilities are kind of endless when you start thinking about it that way.
Okay, so we're trading our life energy for money. Then we're trading that money for stuff. But what if we're not even getting that much fulfillment from that stuff?
Right. That's where the fulfillment curve comes in.
And I think a lot of people can relate to this idea. You buy something new and you're like, yes.
This is going to make me so happy.
The initial high,
right.
But then it fades. And you're on to the next thing.
Always chasing that next dopamine hit.
But the happiness never really lasts.
So the fulfillment curve is basically showing you that there's a point where buying more stuff doesn't actually bring you more happiness.
It's like diminishing returns.
Totally.
That first new car you buy, you feel amazing, freedom, accomplishment, maybe even a little bit of status.
You're on top of the world.
But then you buy a second car?
Maybe even a third.
Does each additional car bring you the same level of joy?
Probably not.
Probably not. So your money or your life uses this idea to help you figure out what your own enough point is.
That sweet spot where you have what truly enhances your life, but you're not constantly wanting more and more and more.
Because more stuff doesn't equal more happiness.
Nope. It's about finding that balance.
So how do we even start figuring out what our enough is?
Well, that's a big question. And it's something we'll definitely dive deeper into, but it starts with understanding where your money is actually going right now.
Tracking your spending.
Exactly.
Now, I know some people might hear that and think, ugh, that sounds so tedious.
I get it. Nobody wants to spend their weekends staring at spreadsheets.
Right.
But the book really emphasizes the importance of knowing where your money is actually going.
And thankfully, we have way better tools for tracking our spending today than they did back when the book was first published.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness for budgeting apps and spreadsheets.
Makes it so much easier.
But even though the tools have evolved,
Yeah.
the underlying principle is still the same. It's about awareness.
You can't make informed decisions about your finances if you have no idea where your money is disappearing to each month.
Exactly.
Remember that anecdote from the book?
Yeah.
About the woman who thought she was pretty good with money.
Yeah. Until she realized she was spending a fortune on takeout coffee every month.
The daily latte syndrome.
It's a classic.
It's so easy to fall into those little spending traps.
Especially when you're not paying attention.
But when you start tracking your spending, you can see those patterns emerge.
And then you can start making conscious choices about where you want your life energy to flow.
So we've covered a lot already. Money as life energy, the fulfillment curve, tracking your spending, and we're just getting started.
We're just scratching the surface here.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into your money or your life, where we'll explore even more life-changing concepts like mindful spending, financial independence, and aligning your money with your values.
It's going to be good.
See you there.
All right, so we're back, diving deeper into your money or your life.
And last time we left off talking about the fulfillment curve, that idea that more stuff doesn't always equal more happiness.
Right, and this actually ties into another fascinating concept from the book, the hedonic treadmill.
Okay, I've heard of that one, but explain it for our listeners who might not be familiar.
So basically, the hedonic treadmill is this idea that we're always striving for more. We get a little taste of happiness from something new, but then we quickly adapt to it.
And we need something else to give us that same feeling.
Exactly. Like you get a raise at work.
You're excited for like a week.
Maybe a month.
Then you're back to your baseline level of happiness.
And you're thinking, okay, now I need another raise.
To feel that same level of satisfaction.
So it's like we're on this treadmill, always running, but never actually getting anywhere.
That's a great analogy.
And your money or your life argues that. This hedonic treadmill is a big part of why we're never really satisfied with what we have.
It's like we're programmed to want more.
Totally.
And it's fueled by consumerism.
Absolutely. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we need to buy more stuff to be happy.
But the book challenges that assumption.
It says that true happiness doesn't come from material possessions.
It comes from within.
Exactly. And it's about aligning your life with your values.
So how do we break free from this hedonic treadmill?
Well, the book offers a lot of practical tips and exercises. But one of the key things is to start becoming more mindful of our spending.
Mindful spending.
What does that even mean? It means thinking carefully about every purchase we make and asking ourselves, is this something I truly need? Will this bring me lasting happiness? Or is this just a fleeting desire?
So it's not about depriving ourselves.
No, not at all. It's about making conscious choices about where we want our money to go.
And about how we want to spend our life energy.
Exactly.
So when we talk about mindful spending, we're also talking about aligning our spending with our values.
Right. It's about figuring out what's truly important to you and then making sure your spending reflects those values.
So, for example, if you value sustainability,
you might choose to buy less stuff overall. And when you do buy things, you might prioritize eco-friendly options.
Or if you value experiences over material possessions,
you might spend more money on travel or concerts or trying new restaurants.
And less money on clothes or gadgets.
Exactly.
Key is to be intentional with your spending.
And to make sure it's aligned with what truly matters to you.
So this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually put it into practice?
Well, one of the first steps is to track your spending.
Like we talked about in the last episode.
Right, because you can't change your spending habits if you don't know where your money is going in the first place.
And once you start tracking your spending,
you can start to identify areas where you might be overspending or where your spending isn't aligned with your values.
And then you can start making changes.
Little by little.
It's a journey.
It is, but it's a journey worth taking.
So we've talked about mindful spending, aligning your spending with your values. But your money or your life goes even further.
It introduces this whole concept of financial independence.
Which can sound kind of intimidating.
I know, but it doesn't have to be.
What does financial independence actually mean?
It means having enough money to cover your living expenses without having to work for a paycheck.
So you're not necessarily retired.
Right. You might still choose to work, but you're doing it because you want to, not because you have to.
That's a powerful concept.
It is. It's about having the freedom to choose how you spend your time and energy.
And your money or your life lays out a clear path for how to achieve financial independence.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a long-term strategy.
Based on saving aggressively.
And investing wisely.
So one of the key things the book emphasizes is the importance of saving a significant portion of your income.
Ideally, 50% or more, if possible.
I know that might sound like a lot.
It is, but the more you save, the faster you'll reach financial independence.
And it's about shifting your mindset
Yeah.
from consumerism to investing in your future.
Exactly. It's about delaying gratification, so you can have more freedom and flexibility later on.
And the book also talks about the importance of investing your savings wisely,
Primarily in low-cost index funds,
which allow your money to grow steadily over time.
thanks to the power of compound interest
So it's like planting a seed.
and watching it grow into a mighty tree.
But before you even start thinking about investing,
You need to figure out your enough point.
like we talked about earlier,
Right. Because you need to know how much money you actually need to cover your living expenses
so you can figure out how much you need to save.
and how long it'll take you to reach financial independence.
So how do we figure out our enough?
That's a big question. And it's something we'll dive deeper into in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. Okay, so last time we were talking about financial independence, which is a pretty big concept, but your money or your life breaks it down into these manageable steps. And one of the most important steps is figuring out your enough point.
Right. Like we were saying, you need to know how much is enough for you before you can even start thinking about how much you need to save to reach financial independence.
So how do we even begin to figure out our enough?
It's not easy because we're so bombarded with messages telling us that we need more.
Bigger houses, fancier cars, more stuff.
Right. But your money or your life encourages us to step back from all that.
And really examine what truly matters to us.
Exactly.
It's about defining your values.
And then making sure your spending aligns with those values.
So let's talk about that. Aligning your money with your values. It sounds great in theory, but how do we actually put it into practice?
Well, the first step is to actually identify your values. What's important to you? What do you care about? What brings you joy?
It's about getting really clear on your core values, the things that give your life meaning and purpose.
Exactly.
And the book has some great exercises for helping you do this.
Like the one where they ask you to write your own obituary.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful
It
one.
forces you to think about how you want to be remembered, what kind of legacy you want to leave behind.
And it can be really eye-opening.
Because it often reveals that the things we think are important aren't actually that important to us at all.
And once you've identified your core values,
You can start using them as a filter for your spending decisions.
so for example, if you value family,
You might choose to spend more money on experiences you can share with your loved ones,
like vacations or family dinners,
and less money on material possessions.
or if you value health and well-being,
You might invest in a gym membership or buy organic food
even if it costs a bit more.
because it aligns with your values
So it's all about making conscious choices.
and being intentional with your spending.
But let's be real. Money can be an emotionally charged topic.
Oh, absolutely.
It brings up a lot of baggage for people.
Fear, guilt, anxiety,
All of that.
and your money or your life doesn't shy away from that.
It acknowledges the emotional side of money
And it encourages readers to confront those emotions head on.
instead of trying to ignore them.
Because often those negative emotions stem from unresolved issues or limiting beliefs about money,
Like the fear of scarcity.
which a lot of people carry with them,
And the book offers some really helpful tips for dealing with those emotional triggers,
like creating a money autobiography
which is basically just writing down your past experiences with money.
and exploring how those experiences shaped your beliefs and habits,
It can be a really insightful exercise.
because it helps you understand where your money mindset comes from.
And once you understand that,
You can start to change it.
if you need to,
So your money or your life is about so much more than just money.
it's about living a more intentional and fulfilling life.
It's about aligning your finances with your values, and it's about finding true happiness
Which isn't about how much money you have. It's about how you use your money.
to create a life that you love.
So if you're ready to take control of your finances and start living a more fulfilling life, we highly recommend checking out Your Money or Your Life.
It's a classic for a reason.
And we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into its key concepts
We'll see you next time.
for another deep dive into a book that could change your life.